Cool. Well, it's 4 o'clock, and we have 4 amazing talks left in the block. Thank you, everyone, for being here in the last block of the day. I'm Quincy Morgan. I'm moderating the session. I also am giving the first talk, so if I go over, nobody can stop me, but I'll try not to. And my talk is Thematic, OpenStreetMap with TheMap.is. So if you were at our virtual conference in January, I gave a talk on this new website that I built. You can go watch that if you want. I'll just give you the cliff notes right here. This is sort of a part 2 I'm doing today. And I posed the question, is the map too full? When OpenStreetMap started, people were adding roads and buildings and rivers and all these things that are now on the map. And people are just finding more and more detail to add. And it can be tough for new mappers to approach it and try to find blank spaces to fill in. I believe that blank spaces create opportunity for people to add good data. And one of the solutions I've thought about for this is thematic maps. There's a lot of these in the community that are pretty cool. This is a common one, Open Railway Map. It just focuses on the train data. This is a recently popular one, DFLOC. Anybody here have map license plate readers on DFLOC? Few hands, awesome. And that brings new people in. These kinds of maps encourage better data, foster community. The downsides are they can be hard for people to create without any experience. They're always inconsistent. Everyone's using different stack, different software, and because of that, the capabilities are different between each theme, and then they can often become outdated as people abandon them, as the costs get too high. So I thought, why not have one website that can have thousands of themes and you can just spin a new one up right away. And it's a website called TheMap.is, TheMap.is. This is just a very basic theme, restaurants. You can zoom in and see them, but then you can pull the menu down and find stuff like, oh, I just want the pizza restaurants. But in OpenStreetMap, there's different ways to map things, so I just want the pizza fast food places, Papa John's or Domino's, and the like, or maybe I just want pizza. I don't care what it is. It can be from a restaurant, fast food. People map pizza vending machines, which apparently are a thing. And other types of features like street lamps. But you can go beyond basic feature types. You can say, I want to look at all the street furniture. So this is, benches, picnic tables, post boxes, things you find on the curb, on the street. Other types of data like bus routes and bus features all coming straight from OpenStreetMap, and even things like paddling, doing more advanced combinations of things. So let's quick overview. It's one website with thousands of potential themes. I've added a few myself, but it's open source so people can go on and add their own. And I wanted to make sure it was very quick to go between themes, so that meant creating vector tiles, and they had to be updated minutely from OpenStreetMap. So this is in public beta. If you go on the website, it might crash because it's running a tile server, and if too many people go on, then it'll stop loading tiles, so sorry about that. But you can check out the source code if you like. But today I wanted to talk more about the custom tech stack that came out of this project and everything that was required to build it, and all this is also free and open source. So first I want to talk about map tiles. So this is just downloading little squares of data that can be rendered as vectors. I call the project beefsteak map tiles because they're bigger and juicier than other map tiles, like a beefsteak tomato. As you can see, there's a lot of points, and this is just the QA layer. You can see all the data, but you would never want to try to visualize this all at one time. You just need that data in the tiles so you can build different themes based off it. You can check out this website just to view the QA tiles directly. And again, the source code is available online as well. And so compared to a traditional vector tile set, say open map tiles is a common one, those tend to be focused on its one use case, usually a base map or maybe very specific, like I just want to see trails. Beefsteak needs to support many different themes. And because of that, we also want to have the raw OpenStreetMap tag values. So instead of normalizing them to a set of known keys and values, we pass through keys and values for a limited set of keys. So if you say natural equals Water, that's a common tag, but if you want to make up a new tag for a new type of natural feature, that'll be supported immediately. And there's one layer per feature type in traditional vector tile sets, which works pretty well, but you can have 20, 25 different layers. Beefsteak just puts it all in one layer per geometry. It's just point, line, area, and there's a relation layer as well. And at low zooms, normally it would filter by object tags, only show the motorways at low zooms, don't show the service roads, and that works pretty well, but what if you want to see a bus route that includes some service roads, but you want to see, it's really long, so you want to see it at low zooms. Instead, we filter by object size, same for areas. So if something is a part of a really long relation or takes up a lot of space on the map, we assume it's important, include it in the tiles. Usually you'd join the relations to the ways on the server. So if you have bus route information, that would all be added. That can make the tiles really large really quickly. So instead, we just include relations on a separate layer and cross-join them as a Map Libre plugin on the client, which sounds kind of wiggity, but it does work pretty well. Traditional vector tile sets, you want to be pretty small. Beefsteak tiles are beefy, they're not small. So instead of aiming for 20 or 50 or 100 kilobytes, sometimes they can be over 500 kilobytes. Some tiles are even over a meg. You'd be surprised at how well it still works despite that on a fast internet connection. Yep, so it's built on a Martin tile server. Is Yuri here? Shout out to Martin. Cool tile server technology, and it's 100% OpenStreetMap. There's no natural earth data, there's no wiki data, there's no external data sets. It supports minutely updates from OpenStreetMap, so if you make a change, it'll be updated right away. And there's some caching, and the cache gets invalidated, so it should still work. It solves the issue of rendering oceans per tile instead of pre-rendering the whole world oceans from coastlines in OpenStreetMap, which I've never seen anyone else figure out. So if you have questions about that, definitely look at the code or ask me, and I'll just show you how to do that in your own tiles. The data schema is hot swappable. You don't have to rebuild the whole planet in order to support a new tag value. If it's like, this new top level tag is in use, you can just upload change one text file and it'll be supported in the tiles right away. It's a bit slow right now, needs more optimization. I haven't been able to work on it in a while. But coming soon, I'd like to finish up the static planet tile implementation, so it'd be the same tiles. It wouldn't have all the same features, and it wouldn't be minutely updated, but you could host static tiles that would be load immediately instead of taking a while to load. Here's an example of a coastline QA tile that shows a lot of islands, so this is all rendered just at once instead of needing to pre-render it. So if you move a little way, a node in a coastline, it'll be updated immediately. This shows you how we're filtering by size instead of by feature type. And it can look a little wonky because, in Texas, Texas is a big state, so the state relations for roads are bigger. This probably needs to be optimized to account for super relations, which are a little difficult to work with right now. But you'll see in a bit that it does have pretty good results. So I do want to talk about the base map style. I haven't thought of a name for this yet, but I'm taking suggestions. This is one example of what it looks like. And at first glance, it might look similar to a lot of styles you've seen, but it has, I think, a lot of innovations that this new map tile schema enables. So you see the normal highways that you'd expect, but you can also see long distance trails, our first class feature type, and the green dashed lines going up through Michigan there. That's the North Country Trail. Similarly, you can see long distance rail lines. You can see long distance power line routes as well, if you learn sort of the rendering there. And you can see types of features that aren't normally shown on an OpenStreetMap-based map. Like, I got really into mapping peninsulas a couple years ago, and all those peninsulas are labeled in a style that's similar to the water, but for land natural features. Yeah. A lot of base maps can be pretty bland. I like a little color, so the different land uses have different colors. I need to add some textures there to support colorblind users. But this is kind of what it looks like at a medium zoom. And as you zoom in, the colors go away, and you just see more detail. We have foot and hiking routes, still as green dashed lines, so you can distinguish paths that don't have route relations from ones that do have route relations very easily at a glance. And because there's only one layer per geometry type, you can do really rich layering between lines and areas. Because say if you had 10 different layers and you wanted to support 10 different, the layer word means two different things here. If you had 10 different layers in your tiles and you wanted to support 10 different data layers from OpenStreetMap, say a highway with five layers on top of each other, and maybe there's a building that's like on one of the bridges or something, that would be 100 different layers in your Map Libre style on a traditional map. But since there's only lines and areas here, you could do the same thing with only 20 different layers and have a huge efficiency improvement. Say there's a swimming pool on top of the roof, on top of a building that's on top of a road. All that can be richly rendered. More just large features people have added to OpenStreetMap I think are kind of cool to show. So normally this area would look kind of blank on the map, but people have added big areas for valleys and mountain ranges and deserts, things like that we can render. We do archipelagos as well, and we support label nodes on features like that, so you can specify exactly where you want things to be labeled. We can also do lake center lines for free, just using the water body name tag from flow lines, which are lines that people add through lakes that show where they go out into the rivers. We do highest points at low zooms for different states, which is kind of a cool thing that you see on a lot of US maps. Even if it's not a very locally high point, if it's the highest point in a state, it's kind of notable, so we can show that on the map. In this case, Mount Katahdin is the endpoint of the Appalachian Trail, and that can be shown like that. And if you zoom in, the actual name of the peak for the highest point is called Baxter Peak, so we can switch out the labeling there and show the massif of Mount Katahdin. And just for fun, this isn't part of the tiles, but we can also do 3D terrain in Map Libre using Mapterhorn, which is a cool open, free DM data set, elevation data set. And we can also use 3D building tags from OSM as well in Map Libre. And this is an optional thing you can turn on. So I think I went through a lot of these things already. There's a little summary. So that's the second part of the tech stack I wanted to show. The third one is the icon library. So I did not draw most of these icons, but I needed a lot of icons to show all the different things you could add to the map in TheMap.is. Two things can sound very similar, look very similar, and you need an icon to be different to distinguish between these features. And I wanted them to be public domain, and I wanted to have a lot of them. So I assembled this library from different existing public domain sources, again, free and open source. You can check it out on GitHub. It started out as about 1,000, and in the last 6 months or so, we've gone up to 2,000 public domain icons. They're seeded from some really great sources that you know and love, Maki, Thematic, National Park Service, OSM Carto, etc. But they're not just copied one for one. Often we standardize the designs, or I usually standardize the designs and the naming conventions. Though we do have some awesome outside contributors that have started showing up as well. And I built a bunch of distributions for it, so it's not just a bucket of files. There's font distribution, node package, QGIS plugin, commons. And there's been a few early adopters who have been using Pinhead in their apps. So Overpass Ultra from Dan Shep, who's here, I believe, the ID editor, and Kevin's Map2Go editor. Here's an example of standardizing designs. So a squiggly line means water, but different libraries, even within the same library, would have a different type of squiggly line. And if you want that to be standard, then you can do what I did and spend your afternoon doing this. We have extensive coverage documentation to say where all the icons come from. So even though they're public domain, we want the original artists to have credit, and we want people to be able to upgrade to Pinhead if they so choose. And there's data files for that, and it's also a web page showing that data. So you can go ahead and search on pinhead.inc, which is the website, find things you like, and then you can even go see them on Wikimedia Commons. Add structured data, so you can say it depicts tents or bodies of water. Somebody, Peter Cooper Jr. and a few other people went through and added metadata for all 2,000 pinhead icons, which is awesome, and that data is reincorporated back into the website. So if you're searching in German, you're searching in your language of choice, it'll take search terms from Wikidata and surface those icons for you. And you can browse them all there. Also available on QGIS by default. If you're an open source user, the icons are right there. And these are a few examples of it in use. If you've looked at the conference logistics website, Jake updated that to use Pinhead just the other day. And those are the 3 things I wanted to talk about. So yeah, these are all built to support this one project. It's still a work in progress, public beta, and I'd love your feedback, and I'd just love to talk more about OSM. So thanks a lot.